Hi everyone, welcome. We might get started in a few minutes, but we still have a few more people arriving, so we'll just wait another couple of minutes if you don't mind.
Beautiful. We might make a start. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us for today's webinar on how to use smart home routines to achieve your clients' goals. My name is Liam Highmore, and I am Homeable's resident smart home enthusiast. And here to balance out my nerdiness with some people skills is none other than Ashley Dodson. Welcome, Ash.
Thanks, Liam.
Look, for those of you who don't know who or what Homewall is, we are a Victorian-based smart home provider that specialises in creating smart home solutions for older people and those with disability. Now, we design and install smart home technology because we think that it can play a really important role in your clients' overall supports. Now, for those of you who have joined us on a previous webinar, welcome back. We love return customers. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, a big welcome goes out to you. Now, these webinars are designed to be fun and informative, while also providing some really practical advice on how to navigate the often unnecessarily complex world of smart home technology for you and your clients. So we do have a really exciting agenda for you this afternoon. In a few moments, I'll kick off this conversation by explaining what smart home routines actually are and why you should consider these for your clients. We will explore some of the different types and explain how they can actually help achieve your clients' goals. We'll share a day in the life of one of our clients who I think puts us to shame with the amount of automations he has running. And finally, we'll actually take one of his routines and really break it down to show you exactly how to set it up and how easy that can be. Now, this session is being recorded and a link will be sent out to all those who registered. So feel free to pass this on to any colleagues who couldn't make it today. You can find these webinars along with some other really great resources on the Homeable website. We will send out a short survey at the end, which we would really appreciate you filling out. You can let us know if there's a specific technology, disability, or application of smart home technology that you would like us to do a bit of a deep dive on in the future. And finally, I do encourage you to pop any questions you have in the chat, and I'll try to monitor it as we go. Otherwise, we'll try and leave some time at the end to answer them. Beautiful. Well, it wasn't too long ago when the smart home was a far-flung pipe dream, but it is slowly becoming a reality for most people. I think everyone on the call would probably be familiar with those handy little gadgets known as smart speakers, the things that can tell you what the weather is. And while that's great, we believe that the real value actually comes from personalizing smart home routines to fit your clients' daily lives. So let's break down what a smart home routine actually is. Now, I'm sure everyone has a morning routine. Your alarm goes off, you open your blinds, you probably head straight to the coffee machine before anyone else tries to talk to you. Well, smart home routines are essentially the same thing, but instead they use smart home devices and automation. They're essentially a set of actions that are triggered by a specific event, whether that's a time, a voice prompt, a sensor, or a button. Now, I would like to do a quick poll to understand how you prefer to interact with your smart home technology. If you don't have any, then just answer how you would like to. You can select all that apply. The poll should be on the screen. Now, we actually ask a very similar question to each of our clients during the consultation process. And perhaps unsurprisingly, the results are very varied. I'm now showing a very colorful pie graph with our clients' varied results. You can see clients wanting to use their voice or smartphone accounts for about 50%, with the remaining half interested in a combination of buttons, schedules, or sensors to actually trigger those automations. Now let's have a look at how you voted. Beautiful. So as you can see, a bit of a mix, and I suppose that's the beauty of smart home technology. What works for someone who is vision impaired may not work with someone with limited mobility. In fact, even people with very similar challenges often have very different preferences in how they interact or trigger their home environment, which is exactly what I will ask Ashley to speak about.
Perfect. Thanks, Liam. So, as you saw from the poll, it's clear that the routines you create will heavily depend on your client's preferences and what they're actually looking to achieve through smart home technology. So, I'll now share some of the common routines that we often set up and what you and your clients will need to consider. So we obviously have voice commands. So popular voice assistants like Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, and Apple Siri allow you to trigger routines with voice commands. So for example, you can say, Alexa, good morning, to initiate a routine that turns on the lights and starts the vacuum. So these can even be personalized to the specific individual based on who's speaking through Google's personal routines option. So, for example, Simon says good morning, and it will actually trigger a different Google routine than when Sally, his wife, says good morning. There's also scheduled times. So you can schedule routines to run at specific times. So, for example, you can set a routine to dim your lights and prepare your home for bedtime every night at 10 p.m. So, some smart home devices can actually use sunset and sunrise as the trigger. For example, you can have your outdoor lights turn on at sunset and have all the blinds in your house closed. Obviously, daylight savings will need to be considered here, and you might have to adjust the times throughout the year. We also have sensor inputs. So motion sensors, door window sensors, and environmental sensors can be used to trigger routines. So for instance, a motion sensor in a hallway can trigger the light to turn on when someone enters the hallway at nighttime. So a door sensor can trigger an alert when the door is open. For any sensor-based routine, you really want to think about exactly when you want this automation to be triggered. So take the light in the hallway, for instance. You wouldn't want this turning on all day, every day. So you can create what we call is an effective or working period, meaning that you can decide when you want the automation to be active. So for instance, the effective period here would be only at nighttime. So we would make it 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. We also have physical buttons and switches. So they can be placed around the home, and each of these can be configured to trigger some sort of automation. One that we see quite regularly is the option of a kill switch. So we'll go through that in a bit more detail later on and provide an example. But what's important to remember with this one is it's often easy to set up a switch to turn everything off, and it's a really useful automation. But does that person then have a way of turning the light on or other devices back on once they've used that kill switch? So there's obviously also a smartphone and tablet. So a smartphone can be used to trigger a routine as well through a smart home app. So this may be useful for someone who has their phone or iPod accessible with a mount. So the smart home app is the source of truth, and this is where actual all routines are created. We can also have weather conditions that will trigger an automation. So these will be based on local weather conditions. So for instance, you can have your blinds closed when the temperature rises above a certain level to keep your home cooler. We also have alarms and timers. So you can use alarms or timers within your smart home system to trigger routines. For example, you can set an alarm to turn on your smart kettle and adjust your heater to a comfortable temperature in the morning. These can even be individualized according to the day. So on those weekends, you can set your alarm a little bit later, and therefore the routine occurs a little bit later so that you can get that sleep in. So obviously the method you choose for triggering the smart home routine will depend on your client's preferences, the devices they have, the level of automation that they desire in their home as well. And you can often use a combination of these methods to create a really complex and efficient routine that suits their needs. So we obviously believe that you can leverage smart home routines to assist your clients in achieving their goals. And this can be done in several ways. So promoting independence is a really big one. So you can use smart home routines to customize and promote greater independence in your client's daily living. Obviously, by automating groups of tasks, your clients can have greater control over their home environment and rely on others less. We also have enhancing safety. So routines can be programmed to enhance safety. So for example, we have a client who will frequently get out of bed at nighttime, and he's had a few falls due to tripping over in the dark. So we've placed a motion sensor under his bed so that when he swings his legs out of bed, it actually triggers the bedside lamp to turn on, which therefore increases his visibility when he's mobilizing to the bathroom. So supporting cognitive function. So routines can provide valuable cognitive support by delivering reminders, say for medications, therapy sessions, and daily tasks. This feature is particularly beneficial for clients with cognitive impairments. For example, we have an older client who is mostly independent and lives with his wife. So he'll religiously wake up at 6 a.m. every morning and make his breakfast. His wife prefers to sleep in a bit. So on occasion, she'll wake up an hour or so later than him and discover that he has forgotten to take his medications that he was meant to have with breakfast. So to help with this, we created a routine so that at 6:20 every morning, his Google speaker that sits on the desk, on the kitchen bench, beside him, will give him a gentle reminder to take his medications. Also providing daily structure. So you can use smart home routines to help establish structured daily routines, which can greatly benefit clients who struggle with organization and time management. So smart home routines can automate daily tasks like turning on the lights, adjusting the room temperature, and providing visual and auditory cues for specific tasks, helping establish a consistent daily routine. A big one for us is also giving back valuable time. So, by automating daily tasks, enabling independence, and simplifying complex activities, these routines reduce the demands of daily living, giving your clients more time to do meaningful things in their life. So these are just some of the benefits that personalized smart home routines can provide. And the example Liam is about to run through is a perfect example of how they can be used to then help achieve your client's NDIS goals.
Thanks, Ash. Yeah, exactly right. So Alan is, I would say, one of our most textbook examples of how to align an NDIS goal with a set of carefully crafted smart home routines. Now, Alan has multiple sclerosis and uses a wheelchair, but he's generally quite independent. His main difficulties are actually keeping his house clean and having to constantly adjust controls, which use a lot of his energy. Now, when we design a smart home solution, we always start with their NDIS goal. And you can see that Alan's NDIS goal is to continue to live in his home with the support and equipment he needs so that he can live as independently as possible. So we thought that smart home technology and personalized routines could play a really important role in achieving this. So we designed a solution around this. And to explain how this works, I'll actually take you through a day in the life of Alan. So Alan starts each morning at 7 a.m. with a scheduled routine, which starts with his blinds automatically opening as it helps him actually wake up with natural light on the exact same. His Google Speaker then actually reads out appointments he has that day, followed by the weather, and finally his daily Fox Sports news, as he loves sort of staying up to date and wants to ensure that he doesn't sort of miss anything on his calendar. Finally, the smart plug connected to his portable heater turns on so his study can actually warm up before he starts work in there a couple of hours later. Now, at 9 a.m., when Alan actually starts work and moves into his study, again, using a similar schedule-based automation, his robot vacuum can start vacuuming the house. He has set this to only happen on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And using another time-based or time-triggered routine, Alan's smart kettle actually turns on so he can make himself a cuppa before really getting into it. Moving forward, just before 4 p.m., Alan receives an audible reminder from his Google Speaker that he's got an appointment, a physio appointment, which also reminds him to bring his exercise diary, as apparently this is something he has a history of forgetting. And I guess in the same time, using an away from home routine, Alan can actually turn on his porch light and lock the front door to, I guess, both deter burglars, but also give him the peace of mind that the home is safe. Finally, at the end of each day, Alan actually transfers from his wheelchair to his bed and uses a programmable button located on his bedside table to initiate a sequence of actions. With a simple press of the button, Alan's window blinds lower, all the lights in his bedroom switch off, and he can then adjust the heating to a cooler setting, essentially optimizing his sleep environment. So as you can see, all of these routines provide Alan with a greater independence and I guess reduce the need for carers and other external supports to sort of help him with these daily tasks. Now that I guess you have an understanding of the routines that are possible and how they can actually be used to help achieve an NDIS goal, let's actually take Alan's bedtime routine and break it down to show you exactly how you can set this up using the Home app, for example. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see a small text box which reads 9 p.m. Alan's bedtime routine, and then the 3 screenshots of the Home app demonstrating the steps needed to actually set up Alan's bedtime automation. Now, assuming all the devices are already installed, we would start by first opening the Home app, as shown in the first screenshot, displaying the main screen with a bunch of device icons and smart home shortcut buttons. We then want to actually navigate to the page labeled Scenes. This is where all the smart home routines are created and managed. And when we create a new automation, it actually asks us what the trigger is. So if you recall before when Ashley spoke about all the different triggers, whether it be the weather changing, a type of schedule, the one that we need for Alan is when the device status changes, which in simpler terms means when the bedside switch is pressed, the automation can begin. Now, remember before when we spoke about routines being made up of a trigger and then an action. Another way to describe this is using the if and then format as displayed on the third screenshot on the right. The if section is where it asks for the trigger, which in this case is Alan pressing his bedside switch once. The then is essentially the set of actions to follow, which we know is turning his bedroom lights off, closing his blinds, and turning the temperature down to make it more comfortable for him to sleep. Now, we label this routine good night so that Alan or his family members can easily identify what this automation is, and so they can modify it if his needs change in the future. I guess the final point to consider here is when we actually want this automation to run. Now, because it's a button, we don't really need to specify a working period, but say this was triggered by a motion sensor, for example, we would probably only want this to run at night. I hope that provides a little bit more clarity on how you can actually take one of your clients' NDIS goals and actually set up a smart home routine designed to help achieve that goal. There are, of course, a lot more complex things that you can do. So please do get in touch if you have a specific client goal or a need that you sort of want to create a smart home routine around.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Your expertise and practical insights are greatly appreciated, as always. So I guess as we're nearing the end of today's webinar, it's clear that smart home routines offer a pathway to greater greater independence and improved quality of life for your clients. So these routines enhance safety, support cognitive function, and establish structured daily living, catering to each individual's unique goals and preferences. So by recognizing the varied triggers that work for different clients and streamlining their daily tasks, smart home routines effectively give back precious time. So I guess the big takeaway from this is that the client-centered approach, as demonstrated with Alan, serves as a guiding principle in really harnessing the potential of smart home technology. And identifying a client's regular daily routine is a critical first step when integrating technology to improve their quality of life. So understanding their existing habits, needs, and challenges allows for a more personalized and effective approach in creating these routines. I guess that's all that we have for today. If anyone has any questions, feel free to please pop it in the chat. I'm looking, it doesn't look like we have any.
I've probably got one for you, Ash, and this is probably one that we get fairly regularly. And you actually mentioned it a little bit before, just to give some people time if they want to pop a question in the chat. For people with Google devices, I guess one of the most common issues that they have is differentiating between the different types of routines on the app. Can you maybe just explain the difference and when you would use maybe one over the other?
Yeah. That's a good question, and I guess it is quite a popular feature. So Google can be unnecessarily complex. There's, as you said, two types of routines. So we have household routines and personal routines. So the steps for both of these routines are actually pretty similar. The main difference being that household routines can be edited, created, and triggered by anyone in the household. whereas you can create a personal routine, and that will allow you to integrate personal information such as your calendar events and that into the routine. And it can actually be triggered by recognizing that person's voice. I guess that's the main difference between the two.
Thank you, Ash.
No worries. I probably have one for you actually, Liam. What what would you say is your favorite routine to use?
Ooh, good question. See, I've got a few. I think I love, just like anyone, a morning routine. I love listening to music while I'm in the shower. So I've actually set up a motion sensor in the bathroom. So when I walk in the bathroom, it plays radio for 10 or 15 minutes while I'm having a shower. It's probably a toss up between that and also setting up an automation so that when someone presses the doorbell, you can actually see who it is on the TV. So without having to sort of get up or stop what you're doing, you can sort of have a quick look at who's at the front door before choosing to let them in or not. But yeah, I could go on.
No, and that last one's quite a useful automation, and one that we have used before for a client. I guess so. We hope that you found this webinar informative. Don't forget to check out the email for the recording of today's session, which will be sent out shortly. Also be on the lookout for the short survey that we'll send your way. So each webinar topic that we've chosen has actually come from the feedback that's been provided through those surveys. So we do actually read them. So if there's a specific topic that you would like us to explore or a question that you weren't able to ask today, please do let us know through the survey. So yeah, thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again.